Hi there, Smart Drivers, talking to you today about driving examiners, the gatekeepers, those people that decide whether you pass or fail your driver's test. I'm going to give you tips, skills, and abilities to pass your driver's test first time. A few people are here already. Elevator Fan is here. Hello. Jay is here, listening from driving home in Edmonton, Alberta. Hopefully we can help you to be successful on your driver's test first time. Not everybody is successful, but with a bit of training, a bit of knowledge and information, you can be successful in passing your driver's test first time. Excellent. So Colton is here. Arkansas, 33 degrees Celsius with 92 degrees Fahrenheit, 56% humidity. So it's a very nice summer day in Arkansas there. Sean is tuning in from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. Hello. You're just tuning in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what class of license you're going for, how we can help you out. Here at Smart Drive Test, we help you to pass a driver's test, become a safer, smarter driver, or start a career as a truck or bus driver. And those three things, under the umbrella of driving, YouTube dislikes, the algorithm dislikes, any algorithm dislikes, because I tried it on TikTok too, didn't work there either. Excellent, Elevator Fan, you and me as well. It's going to be great. So for those of you who don't know, I am driving across the United States starting on the 31st of July, and will be Chicago, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Toledo, Ohio, into Detroit, and back home to Ontario where my folks live. So I'm going to be doing license tests in 10 states as I go from west to east across the United States of America, from Washington, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. Those are the 10 states that I'm going to hit on the way home to do license tests. We're going to meet up with Elevator Fan. That will be really great. And if anybody else wants to meet up, let me know. I'll let you know what day I'm going to be there and how I can help you out with passing a driver's test. We're talking about the driving examiners today, the people that people love to hate if they are not successful in passing their driver's test. Accusations over the years have been leveled against driving examiners, the DMVs, other organizations, that they are money collectors, when, you know, there are better ways to collect money than the $50 you get from a driver's test or whatever the fee is. I know that it's quite a bit lower in some places for driver's fees and those types of things. The reality is, you do the work, you do the training, you get some instruction, you get the right information, and you are going to have a very high success rate in passing your driver's test. Most people that get a bit of information, bit of training, the skills and abilities, have a 97% pass rate. And yes, sometimes people that should pass don't pass, but you know, and people that shouldn't pass do pass. It's not a completely fair system, but it does work. Corey's here, Bricks for Wheels. Corey is the moderator. He does an excellent job of getting up the videos I suggest you have a look at. So look for those videos when I suggest you have a look at those for more details on the questions you ask. Talking about driving examiners, are they crusty, short-tempered? Sometimes, yes. They put their pants on like the rest of us, and sometimes they have a bad day where they get up in the morning, they spilled the milk, or the milk was sour when they pulled it out of the fridge. You know, they stepped on the dog and spilled the milk on the floor in the kitchen, and just had one of those days that was just going completely wrong, and they come to work and unfortunately they take it on you. And if that happens, be sure to laser focus on what you're doing so that you can be successful in passing your driver's test first time. My friend Marion is here. Hello, Colton. Remember, the only person to blame for failing the driving exam is yourself. Yeah, that's true to a certain extent, Colton. And yes, you're going to fail, and you need to take responsibility for that. If you are unsuccessful on your driver's test, take a day, you know, be down, get bummed, say bad things about people, those types of things, you know, but put a time limit on it, right? In the amount of time that you're down. So that way you can get back up, do your driver's test. And the other piece about it is ensure that you book another driving test ASAP. As soon as you can, book your next driving test. Then that way you have something to work towards, right? as well. Look at the feedback that you got from the driving examiners. The only place that you're not going to get feedback is New York City. You have to go on their website after 6 o'clock and you'll learn whether you pass or fail. But most driving test centers, after you take your test, the driving examiner is going to give you a debrief. They're going to give you reasons why you failed the driving test. Now, no, it's not going to be a comprehensive debrief. They're going to pick 1 or 2 things because their time is limited. They only have about 5 minutes to give you feedback on what happened on the driver's test if you were unsuccessful. There are other things that you're going to need to work on as well. And if you do the work up front, then you have a much higher chance of success. And if you're not taking driving lessons, I strongly encourage you to book a practice driving test with a local driving school. Go out and do that for several reasons. They're going to take you on the test route. They're going to take you to the place where the driving examiners do the slow speed maneuvers, and they're going to give you feedback on the skills and abilities that you need to strengthen to be successful on passing your driver's test. Elevator fan, no hand signals on a driver's test. No, you can't use hand signals on a driver's test. You do need to know hand signals, and it is up to the discretion of the examiner whether he or she asks you to show and demonstrate the hand signals. If you're taking a motorcycle license test, you're absolutely going to be asked the hand signals for driving, because you have to know what they mean, because cyclists are going to use hand signals. So Corey will put up that video for you. You can have a look at that on how to do hand signals. My friend Ant is tuning in from the UK. A few people over here in the UK believe that examiners run out of pass certificates. Yes, and that's another myth of driving. And absolutely what Ant is saying, in the UK, there are some test centers that have a fail rate of up to 50% or more, which is not surprising in the UK because it is a much more difficult test. First and foremost, they're driving manual transmissions. That in and of itself is a challenge. Second, in the UK, roads are narrower. These cities did not grow up with the motor car. Roundabouts everywhere. Sometimes it can be incredibly challenging, especially when you're at a multi-lane roundabout. And the tests are longer, up to a half an hour driving around UK, the London, other places, large metropolitan cities and those types of things. So they are definitely more difficult in the UK. Eric, good evening. Greetings from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Love this version instead of 12 noon CST. Yes, we do both in the morning and in the afternoon on Tuesdays. My friend Marion is here. She just got back from traveling around Vancouver Island. Hello, hello. And excellent. Rathana is here as well. Hello, my friend. How are you? And Corey's put up the video on I failed my driver's test. Have a look at that if you were not successful. So what we're going to do here, we'll get over to the presentation. We'll get through that 10 or 12 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll spend the remainder of the hour answering any questions you have on passing a driver's test, being a safer, smarter driver, or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. It always works in the morning, but it doesn't work in the afternoon. Talking about driving examiners, and yes, sometimes they can be crusty and they can bark orders at you. Your job is to take away the driving examiner's right to fail you. Nothing less, nothing more. For those of you new to Smart Drive Tests, my name is Rick August. I was a driving instructor in the 1990s. I hauled freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States. 1997, I became a licensed commercial driving instructor and hauled license. 1997, I became a licensed commercial driving instructor and taught truck driving for most of my instructional career. Logbooks, air brakes. What do I want to say about air brakes? Air brakes is my specialty. I wrote a book on instructing air brakes because every person who takes a CDL license and is driving a vehicle fitted with air brakes has to pass the air brake endorsement. 2006, I graduated from the University of Melbourne with my doctorate in legal history, which is a study of policing, courts, and prisons. My expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic, oddly enough. So how do we police traffic? 2015, I started the online YouTube channel and the business, and it has been wildly more successful than I could have imagined. Now nothing is working. Awesome. Good stuff to have a look at for resources. New video I put up last week, mastering shoulder checks. Have a look at that video as well. Top 4 must-have skills for a driver's test. Have a look at that as well. Driving examiner's job: to assess your ability to have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. That's what you need to do. Nothing less, nothing more for the purposes of passing your driver's test. Your job is to take away the driving examiner's right to fail you. Nothing less, nothing more. Follow the rules, demonstrate that you can adapt to changing traffic conditions and you can drive safely, and that will cause you to pass your driver's test first time. First impressions. You don't get a second chance to make first impressions. Clean the vehicle. Take all the fast food wrappers out of the footwells. Take it down to the local car wash. Give it a vacuum. Wipe off the dash. Wash the outside of the vehicle in the morning. Take a shower. Put on clean clothes. Brush your hair. Do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle. Make sure that everything is working. Make sure that the brake lights are working. Make sure that the headlights are working. Make sure that all the tail lights are working. Make sure that the signals are all working. Make sure that the passenger seat is solid, secure in the vehicle. The passenger's door works, and the seat belt on the passenger side works as well. These are all reasons that people have been denied their driver's test. They can't go out. If the examiner deems that the vehicle is unsafe, they will not take you out. So know that. So do a pre-trip inspection. If you're going down with a driving school, ask the examiner if he or she did a pre-trip inspection on the vehicle as well, because you don't want to be denied for something simple. Okay, driving test myths. Don't wear sunglasses. You can wear sunglasses. Me personally, I can't drive in bright sunlight without sunglasses. So wear sunglasses if you need to wear sunglasses. Don't engage in conversation at the beginning of the test. No, simply listen to the instructions of the examiner. But halfway through the test, if the examiner starts to engage in conversation, then yes, you can have a conversation with the examiner. Okay, examiners work to fail you. That is not true. Examiners have a quota on how many people need to fail. That's not true either. People just are not ready. 9 times out of 10, what the examiner says about your driving and whether you passed or failed is absolutely true. I have to speak perfect English. That is not true. Left, right, oftentimes examiners will point in the direction they want you to go, and examiners are unfair and can be mean and those types of things. Most examiners, 98% of them, are doing an awesome job and helping you out to pass your driver's test the best that they can. The vehicle, pre-trip inspection, which I talked about, and I think Corey put up the pre-trip inspection video you need to have a look at to be successful on your driver's test. There are 2 ways to fail a driver's test. You will be assigned points, demerit points, for major errors and minor errors. For minor errors, it'll be 5 to 10 points. For major errors, it'll be 10 to 20 points or an outright fail. So most driving tests, you're allowed to accumulate 35 demerit points. If you get more than 35 demerit points, you are not going to be successful on your driver's test. So that's the first way, accumulating demerit points. The second way that you're going to fail your driver's test is an automatic fail. Not stopping for emergency vehicles is an automatic fail on a driver's test. Committing a dangerous action where another road user has to take evasive actions is an automatic fail on a driver's test. If a driving examiner intervenes because they feel that the action you're taking is going to cause a collision, that too is an automatic fail on a driver's test. So a couple of ways that you can fail your driver's test as well. You can get the pre-trip inspection checklist over at the Smart Drive Test website. Head over there to that address and pick that up. Shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking. The most common error on failing a driver's test is that students do not shoulder check. Apologies. 2 times for every turn, 2 times for every time they move the vehicle sideways or laterally. So lane changes and turning, you must signal shoulder check. Have space in front, 2 to 3 second following distance for the duration of the driver's test. For the purposes of your parallel parking, you cannot adjust the mirrors to look down. You need to you need to have enough practice that you can do it without adjusting the mirrors, because Driving examiner is not going to wait a minute, 2 minutes while you sit there and adjust the mirrors to parallel park. Okay, do not rely on backup cameras, on proximity sensors, on convex mirrors, or blind spot detectors. Technology is just a backup. You need to have proper, correct driving techniques and skills in place to be successful on passing your driver's test first time. Road signs, failing to adjust your driving according to changing road signs when you're driving. This is why it is imperative that you practice in and around the test center at the time that you're going to be taking your test. If your test is at 10 o'clock in the morning, be sure that you're practicing in and around the test center at 10 o'clock in the morning during the weekdays, so that you will know and be able to replicate the traffic that you are going to encounter on your driving test. If you're going in during the weekdays, do not go into the test center, okay? That's against professional conduct, okay? They are in there, they're working, they're doing tests, so don't do it. Don't go into the test center, but you can drive in and around the test center during the week, all right? On weekends and after hours, you can go into the test center. And a lot of test centers will leave, if they do parallel parking at the test center with cones, they will oftentimes leave those set up so you can go in and practice after hours and on the weekends and whatnot. Slow speed maneuvers. Okay, many students will get their learner's permit, the 180 days, 1 year that you have to have your learner's permit. They'll let that time tick over, and then 6 to 8 weeks before their driving test, they will start practicing. They'll go out on the roadways and they'll drive up and down the road, and they'll learn how to do right turns and left turns and do lane changes and figure out the difference between two-way stops and four-way stops. And then 2 days before their driver's test, they're like, oh, I have to parallel park on the driver's test, and they'll go and start doing it. You're doing it completely backwards. Completely, utterly backwards. You should be doing the slow speed maneuvers, working in the parking lot, doing your parallel parking, backing into a parking space, doing your three-point turns first. It will accelerate your learning. You will become a smarter, safer driver faster, because slow speed maneuvers teach you mastery of the primary controls, the steering wheel, the accelerator, and the brake. And as well, they teach you where your vehicle is in space and place. In other words, where is it in relation to fixed objects along the roadway, things that you're going to hit. Teach you in relation to other cars on the roadway, and it'll teach you how to go around corners and turn correctly. So that is a myth of learning to drive. Do not spend 2 days before your driver's test learning how to parallel park. Do it as soon as you get in the car and start driving. You will accelerate your learning and become a safer, smarter driver faster. Do not negate these. I know it's not sexy. Okay, doing slow speed maneuvers in a car is like riding a moped. Fun to do, but you don't want your friends to see. Okay, lane positioning. Move to the right lane after turning left on a multi-lane road. Left lane to left lane, right lane to right lane. Merging, lane changes, moving the vehicle sideways, and communicating effectively with other traffic. The 5 ways that we communicate with other traffic. The position of our vehicle on the roadway, lights and signals, eye contact, hand gestures, and lastly, the horn. The horn is seen as a sign of aggression, so use it sparingly when you're driving on a road, especially on a driver's test. Okay, the driving examiner's job is to assess competency. They will assign demerit points for minor and major errors. You will be assigned a pass, fail. You won't be given a grade on your driver's test, and they will give you feedback, except in New York City. You will have to log on to the website and check and see whether you passed or failed your driver's test. Good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. And Colton said driving a manual transmission in the U.S. is the best anti-theft you can have. In other countries, having the vehicle set up where walking is faster, transportation works better. And Colton, you're not wrong. If you're driving a manual transmission in the United States or in Canada, it's less likely it's going to be stolen because, it is a waning skill. However, if you have the opportunity to learn how to drive a manual transmission, I strongly encourage you to take that opportunity to learn how to drive a manual transmission, especially if you're planning on traveling to Europe. It's more expensive to get an automatic vehicle in Europe if you can, and most vehicles in Europe are going to be manual transmissions. And I found it interesting. Some weeks ago, I was watching a video on Scotty's channel. It was one of his video shorts, and he was talking about the reason that automatic transmissions are pervasive in the United States of America. Of course, he completely ignored Europe, the fact that it's 85% manual transmissions in Europe and 15% automatics, and it's the inverse of that here in North America. In North America, it's 85% automatic transmissions, 15% manual transmissions. He was saying that the argument he put forth was that automatic transmissions get the same fuel mileage as manual transmissions, which I don't think is true as of yet, because I hear some of these vehicles and I think to myself, that automatic truck, you know, pickup trucks that are fitted with automatic transmissions, they don't sound efficient at all. I mean, you can hear them running. Okay. And, you know, an automatic transmission is basically a hydraulic pump. It's not a direct connection as a manual transmission is. So I don't believe his argument. If that was true, then I believe that we would have more automatic transmissions in Europe. I think the other piece about it is roads are smaller, narrower in Europe. And manual transmissions allow you to build smaller cars because automatic transmissions are big. They're not like a manual transmission. Most manual transmissions are a third to a half, proportionally a third to a half smaller than an automatic transmission, because automatic transmissions are big and they have a hydraulic pump in them, plus the gear portion of it. So you can fit a manual transmission in a clutch, and it's going to take up less space than an automatic transmission. I think this is the other reason that there are manual transmissions are so pervasive in Europe. Sri, I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm going to take my full license. What other videos should I watch? Thank you for being awesome. You are most welcome, my friend. Corey will put up the videos if you hasn't done so. Yes, Corey already put up the videos there. Must-watch videos to pass your driver's test. Have a look at that playlist, and that will definitely help you out to get ready for your full license there in Vancouver. My friend Klaus is here, tuning in from Germany. Hello, my friend. Community, how are you doing? I'm fine. Worked on the weekend, but today, Wednesday, I got 2 days off. Excellent, my friend. What else did we say about walking is faster? Yes. The other piece about Europe is they have high density population. For those of you who don't know what high density population is, so for example, in North America, we would have 30, 40 people per square kilometer as an average density. In Europe, they have like 400 people per square kilometer. And because they have high density population in Europe, they have excellent public transit. Excellent public transit. And as Colton was saying, it's cheaper to just take public transportation than own a personal motor vehicle. You know, and here's an example of that. The 5 years that I lived in Melbourne, Australia has excellent public transportation. I mean, I never looked at a schedule, maybe once or twice when I was going across town in 3 zones. But for the 5 years that I was living in Australia, if I wanted to get on the tram, I just walked down and got on the tram because there was a tram every 8 minutes. Why would you look at a schedule? And, you know, when I lived in London, Ontario, Canada, I can remember, you know, back in the days before computers and Google and those types of things, they had a little brochure of every schedule. And it was like, you know, you'd be sitting down with these brochures trying to figure out the route and what time the buses were going to come and those types of things. It was absolutely crazy. But, you know, when they have excellent public transit, why would you own a car? I never owned a car when I was in Melbourne. Thank you, my friend. We'll definitely watch the other videos as well. Grateful for your videos. You are most welcome, Rathana. Colton, Scotty Kilmer doesn't sugarcoat the problems vehicles have. He tells his viewers exactly what's wrong with them and why some vehicles are best left to the scrapyard. Yes. You always like that honesty and that frank approach to vehicles and those types of things. And if I was doing reviews on vehicles, I would probably have that same approach. For example, you know, bought my mom a Pontiac Montana van, 2006. I've told you about this in the last couple of live streams. I wouldn't buy one. I would not buy a Pontiac. It is not a quality vehicle. It is not a quality vehicle. I mean, you got to slam the doors on it. I have a 1998 Honda CR-V with 400,000 kilometers on it, and you take the door and you push it shut and it goes click and it shuts. It's not, I just think to myself, what? Why do I have to slam a car door in this day and age? Don't we have the technology to just like push them shut? Elevator fan, another myth is that I don't have to signal when there is no one near me. Yes, that is an absolute myth. There are driving habits that you want to create and develop that are going to keep you safe so that you don't make mistakes when you get tired, when you get distracted, when you're thinking about something else, or you're inebriated because you're too tired and shouldn't be driving anyway. So yes, signal every time you change directions of the vehicle. Shoulder check every time you change directions of the vehicle. Apply the parking brake every time you park the vehicle. Stop one vehicle length back from the vehicle in front when stopping in traffic. Create these habits that will make you a safer, smarter driver. And these driving habits, these safe driving habits, are not going to keep you safe tomorrow, next month, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, but 6 or 8 years from now, they may, save you at that point, because we know that the average person out there driving is only going to crash 3 or 4 times in a 30, 40-year driving career. So they can go along for a long time and think, oh, I'm a good driver because I've never had a crash. Well, that's not true. It's just that other people are staying away from you and helping you out, because driving is a social activity. Corey's put up the 5 defensive driving strategies to be a safer, smarter driver, so have a look at that. Marion, Nanaimo drivers never use their signals. The whole time I was there, not one person used them. Marion, that's awesome, because, in Nanaimo, if you have a vehicle that the signals have never been used, it has a higher resale value. That's why. Colton, I've never heard of a Pontiac Montana, so that tells me what not to buy. Colton, I was actually looking at some reviews on the internet about the Pontiac Montana. It was not a good seller. It did not have high sales, and this is probably why General Motors scrapped the entire Pontiac division. As of 2009, I think it was 2009, maybe somebody can Google this for me, Pontiac no longer exists. They stopped making Pontiacs after 2009. I think my brother was telling me that the other day. Excellent. Excellent. Montana, yeah. Pontiac Montanas is basically, it's a minivan. So, yes. So the other thing we've been working on here at the Smart Drive Tests, Enterprises, that's what we're calling it now, the Enterprises. One of the enterprises that we're working on, we're rebuilding the entire Smart Drive Test website, which is a colossal undertaking. It's amazing how much information gets put on a website in a 7-year period. So we're rebuilding that. I'm doing a course on the Ohio maneuverability test, and for those of you who don't know, that don't live in the Buckeye, which is the nickname for the state of Ohio, and it looks real ugly. Yeah, so they went defunct October 31st, 2010. Yes, okay. So Pontiac. So the Pontiac Montana, it's not an attractive van. I mean, minivans aren't attractive anyway, but it's not an attractive vehicle. And it's sitting in my driveway. And I said to my brother, even my brother agreed with me. He said, "Oh yeah, it's not a great vehicle." And for example, the Honda, the fuel filter's right on the firewall. You just unbolt it, put it on a new fuel filter. The air filter on the Honda is like right there. You pop it open and it takes you 30 seconds to change the air filter. The air filter on the Pontiac, I was looking at it to check it to make sure that it didn't need to be replaced. It literally took me 20 minutes to fight the thing out, look at the air breather, and then put it back together. And I wasn't even sure if I had it right back together right. So that's a Pontiac. Elevator fan, have a great dinner, my friend. Yeah, and the other piece about the Pontiacs is they have this marshmallow suspension. I don't know if many of you are aware of what a marshmallow suspension is, but it just kind of floats. It's kind of like you're on a really squishy mattress when you're driving it, and I do not like that marshmallow suspension. I know that there are probably some people out there that really like the marshmallow suspension, but me personally, I like a little bit of sport toughness in my suspension and being able to ground corners and those types of things. Colton, oh my, of all the minivans out there, the Montana is the ugliest one. The Transport is a bad joke and the Montana is a disgrace. Don't hold back, Colton. No, and I told my brother, that the next time I buy my mom a van, we're not buying her a Montana. We're going to buy her an Odyssey, a Honda Odyssey or a Sienna. I mean, they're not attractive either, but at least it's a Honda, right? At least it's a quality vehicle, because my mom is huge into minivans. So that's what we're going to do. And so, yeah, I have this Pontiac and I'm going to drive it back across the state. So, elevator fan, when you meet up with me there in Indiana, yeah, that's what I'm driving, is the Montana, because I'm driving it back to Ontario to give it to my mom. So, yes, there you go. It's not an attractive vehicle. And, you know, the other piece about it, minivans, just on that note of minivans for right now, I mean, we kind of got off the topic of driving examiners, but we'll get back to driving examiners here for just a second. The Chrysler Grand Caravan, the Dodge Grand Caravan, all the seats in the back actually fold down into the floor, which makes a, you know, level floor in the back of the van, which is really nice. I pulled the seats out of the Montana, the Pontiac Montana, and it was all I could do to lift them up. I was like, you had a woman or somebody that's not very strong trying to get these seats out of here. I mean, they're heavy and awkward to get out of there. So it's not the best thing in the world. Marion, we used to have a marshmallow suspension and I got car sick. Not surprising. I prefer the firmer suspensions rather. Yes, and me as well. Klaus in Berlin, the public transit system is great. Large cities with bike lanes and bus lanes. You can basically ride your bike backwards and would be faster in the rush hour. Yes, exactly, Klaus. I know exactly what you're talking about. And the other piece about it, you know, while I was going to university in high school and I was living in London, Ontario, Canada, and that time it was a city of about 100,000 people. You know, just it took forever to take public transit, but I couldn't afford a car then. I was poor, right? So I didn't have a car. I had to rely on public transit. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. And this is how bad it was. So I moved to Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, which is the federal capital here in Canada. And I remember taking the bus on a Sunday, which was, you know, Sunday is the worst day of the week for public transit. At least it was in London, Ontario. So I needed to go from where I lived to the train station because I was heading back home to see my folks. And I budgeted 2 hours of time to take the bus because I'd never taken the public transit in Ottawa before. And so I get on the transit system and the next thing I realized, it took me 20 minutes to get to the train station. I had an hour and a half to sit around and wait for my train. I was like, what the heck is this? In Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, the buses have their own roads. They have roads just for public transit, which I thought was absolutely fabulous, just absolutely fabulous. And, you know, going in cities, Madrid, New York City, Montreal, Vancouver has a SkyTrain, Atlanta, Georgia has the Metro. It's not called the Metro, it's called something else. But I mean, these places that have trains and trams and trolleys and subways, it's just fantastic. I love riding subways. I think they're the greatest. And if you ever get a chance to go to Montreal, Quebec is the best because the trains have rubber tires. So they make a very unique sound in the tunnels. So there you go. I got a little carried away with public transit and subways and whatnot. Colton, I've never rode in a vehicle with a marshmallow suspension, so I have no idea what that would feel like for me. Colton, it's like riding on a pillow. It's the best I can describe it. And the interesting thing about it, in the 1950s, Cadillac was the car in North America. If you made it in North America, you were driving Cadillac. Well, they had marshmallow suspensions. And unfortunately, a lot of people died because of the marshmallow suspensions in these Cadillacs and other luxurious cars. The Mercury Lincoln, was it the Mercury Lincoln? Not the Mercury Lincoln, the Lincoln Town Car, that was it. The Lincoln Town Car, the Chrysler New Yorker, Cadillac, these all had marshmallow suspensions in them. They are not safe. They're safe now. They weren't safe at the time. So yeah, there you go. Talk about passing driver's tests, getting back to driving examiners. And yes, do not let driving examiners deter you or change your focus from passing your driving test and being successful first time. So 4 components you need in place to pass your driver's test. Everybody on the roadway after they get their driver's license is participating in social driving. Driving is a social activity, and you need to go along to get along with what other people are doing. Most people do not have any professional driver training after getting their license. Okay? So they're just doing what other people are doing. They're speeding, they're following too close. As Marion said, they're not signaling in Nanaimo, and it's not just Nanaimo that they're not signaling. They're not signaling everywhere. I mean, you see people all the time on the roadway who change lanes and give you a courtesy flash, right? There's 2 flashes on the signal. Oh, hey, I'm moving over, by the way. It's not effective signaling or effective communication. Know that for the purposes of driving. If you drive the way everybody else drives on the roadway, you will not be successful on your driver's test. So, space management, speed management, observation, communication. These are the 4 tools that you need in place to be successful on your driver's test. Space management, 2 to 3 second following distance, stopping in traffic 1 vehicle length back from the vehicle in front. Your landmark for that is the tires making clear contact with the pavement. That is space management. 3 feet, 1 meter from pedestrians, cyclists, other vulnerable road users, minimum. Do not try and squeeze past them on a driver's test, because you will be assigned major demerit points for crowding a pedestrian. Stopping at the correct stopping position at controlled intersections, before the stop line, before the sidewalk or crosswalk. If those 2 conditions don't exist, then at the edge of the intersection just before entering into the intersection. Speed management, flow of traffic or the posted speed limit, whichever is less. Communication, communicate effectively with other traffic, okay? Position of your vehicle on the roadway communicates intent. If you're in the left turning lane, there's a high probability you're going to turn left. If there's a pedestrian standing at the crosswalk, there's a high probability that he or she is going to be crossing the road at that crosswalk. Lights and signals. Eye contact. If you're not sure what a road user is doing, a pedestrian or a cyclist or somebody else, get eye contact and then use your hand signals. Use all 5 fingers. Don't tell somebody they're number 1, especially on a driver's test. You don't want to incite road rage. Finally, use of the horn, okay? If somebody's not going at a light because they're looking at their phone or they're distracted doing something else, the light tap on the horn to tell them to get going. Observation. Forward scanning pattern. Far down the road and check your instrument panel. Far down the road. Center mirror. Far down the road. Side mirror. Repeat that every 10 to 15 seconds. Your scanning pattern is tied into your speed control. If you're not adjusting your speed every 15 to 20 seconds, it tells the examiner that you are not scanning correctly. Shoulder checking, shoulder checking, shoulder checking. Every time you move the vehicle sideways, every time you turn. Minimum 2 shoulder checks, okay? You cannot just move your eyes and scan properly when you're driving. You have to move your head. And sometimes the A-pillar, the 2 pieces of the car on the other side of the windshield that holds it in, will create a blind spot. So you'll have to move at your hips backwards and forwards to be able to see around that blind spot. Shoulder checking, and then the last piece is 360-degree awareness around your vehicle, so knowing where other road users are as you're driving along. Reversing, looking all around the vehicle, looking out through the back window. You can use a backup camera, you can use your mirrors, but looking out through the back window. And I know there are a lot of vehicles out there you can't see much out through the back window. Fake it till you make it, okay? You can't use a backup camera as your primary line of sight. You can look at it, but you can't use it as your primary line of sight. Same with the mirrors. However, doing the Ohio maneuverability test, for those of you in the Buckeye, it's really tough to do that maneuver without using your mirrors. You have to be able to use your mirrors because you can't see much out through the back window, so you have to use your mirrors. Now, for those of you who are in the Buckeye and don't know what the Ohio maneuverability test is, it's a rectangle, 4 cones, 20 feet long, 9 feet wide. And then out in front, another 20 feet is a nose cone in the center of the rectangle. You drive through the rectangle and then you go left or right of the nose cone, as per the instructions of the examiner. When you drive through, you have to stop so the back of the car is in line with the nose cone. When you back up through, you have to stop so the front of the car is in line with the front 2 pylons, and you can't stop. You have to go super slow as you're moving through and doing the Ohio maneuverability test. There are only 3 states that do not require parallel parking as far as I know. Nobody's told me anything different. California, Ohio, and Maryland are the only 3 states that I know that do not require parallel parking for a driver's test. So for the purposes of a driver's test, practice backing into a parking space, parallel parking, 3-point turns. Do those at the beginning of your driving. Don't just go out on the roadway and start driving around, okay? Do those 3 slow speed maneuvers. Practice for about a couple hours, 3 hours. Don't, spend a couple of days doing it because you're going to get tired of it. It's just going to wear you out. So, maybe go and do 2 or 3 parallel parks and then go for a drive around and then come back, do a couple of 3-point turns, then go out for a drive, right? You don't want to take a very, very long for one driving session because you're new. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of concentration and it's really tiring. So only spend about an hour, take a break, do another hour, take a break, do another hour. If you can do that, that's going to be your best way of learning. But slow speed maneuvers teaches you mastery of the primary controls, the accelerator, the brake, and the steering wheel, and how to work those in combination. So how to work the steering wheel with the accelerator, how to work the steering wheel with the brake, and how to reverse. The other piece about backing up and your maneuvering is that the front of the car and the back of the car will take different paths of travel. They're not going to follow each other, right? So if you want the back of the car to go that way, to go to the left, the front of the car is going to go to the right. So when you're going slow and maneuvering through pylons and whatnot, you got to keep track of what the front of the car is doing and you got to keep track of what the back of the car is doing. And you need to know that the steering wheel from straight goes 1.5 revolutions to the right, and then if it's at center, 1.5 revolutions to full turn to the left. That will help you out as well. Klaus, you have to put 1.5 meters distance between you and bicycle riders to pass the driver's test. Okay. Now, when you're doing the driver's test in Germany, Klaus, aren't there some roads that's going to be almost impossible for you to be able to do that on, is 1.5 meters? Because 1.5 meters is a big distance between a car and a cyclist on some roadways. What if the roadway is too narrow to be able to put that kind of distance between your vehicle and a bicycle? What's going to happen in Germany if you just make as much space as you can to get past that cyclist? In Berlin, we have the U-Bahn underground trains. Awesome. The U-Bahn. Eric, Suburban Outbacks are great. They are super safe and reliable. Awesome suspension, easy gas mileage. This is true even with older Suburban models. Subarus, so there's something to check out. Colt and semi-trucks in the U.S. need their own lanes. On the interstate where passing each other is not allowed. I'm tired of waiting forever for a truck to pass another truck governed to the same speed. That's not going to happen, Colton. I know that. I know what you're talking about, but it's unfortunately it's not going to happen. Excellent. So we're talking about driving examiners tonight, how to get past the driving examiner, how to pass your driver's license test and be successful first time. Your job is to demonstrate to the examiner that you have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions, because this is the thing about driving, is that, you may start out, you're on a 2-lane road in a residential area, you go out onto a multi-lane urban road, and then next thing you know, you're on an interstate or a freeway, and then out in the country. So roadways, traffic, vehicles, the drivers, all this is going to change as you're driving, and it can change in a very short period of time. So you need to demonstrate that you are safe and reading traffic patterns, understanding the actions of individual road users, and staying safe and doing that. 5 feet, yes, 1.5 meters is approximately 5 feet for all of us here in Canada and North America, in the United States rather. So yes, know that. 5 feet is a long distance, and if you're in a residential area and there isn't a great deal of traffic, then you can simply move over into the other lane, and make sure that when you move over into the lane, you do all your checks, signal, shoulder check, and then signal and shoulder check back on a driver's test to be successful, that you're not going to fail your driver's test. Same thing. When you show up for your driver's test, show up 20 to 30 minutes early. Check in, go into the office. If you're not in New York City or those types of places, if you're in the larger metropolitan city centers, they may not have an office and you just have to park along the street and the examiner will come out. But most places in the United States, you're going to have an office. You're going to go in. They're going to have reserved parking. You park in the reserved parking space. Go in, bring your prescription glasses, bring your license, another piece of identification, bring money. It's not free to take your driver's test, okay? You do have to pay. And you also have to pay to have your license administered. So they take money for a test, and then when you come back and you pass, for them to issue your license, there's another administration fee for that as well. So make sure that you bring money, okay? Make sure that you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle before you show up at the DMV to take your test, okay? Because the driving examiner is going to do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle before heading out on the roadway. They're going to check the lights, the signals. They're going to make sure that there isn't any body damage. All the glass is intact. It's not chipped, cracked, or broken. They're going to check and make sure that not the registration. They're going to check and make sure that the license plates are attached. So don't borrow your vehicle from your uncle that doesn't have a license plate on the front, and the state that you're in does require a license plate on the front. Don't be denied for something simple that could have been fixed the night before. For example, a brake light out, the bulb is blowing. You could simply fix that the night before easily if you can wield a screwdriver, okay? So do a pre-trip inspection, get a good night's sleep, have breakfast. The pre-trip inspection on the vehicle, make sure the seat belt works on the passenger side, the seat is secure, the door opens and closes, because if there's anything that is unsafe or the driving examiner deems unsafe, they will not take you out on your driver's test. As well, if you're going with the driving school, ensure that the instructor, ask him or her, did you do a pre-trip inspection on the vehicle before we show up? As well, make sure you have enough fuel in the car, because it would be really super duper embarrassing if you ran out of fuel on your driver's test. So check all that before you show up for your driver's test. Colton, I'm going to go mow the grass. All right, my friend, you have an awesome night. Enjoy cutting the grass. Awesome. So driving examiners, they're the gatekeeper, okay? If they get in and they start barking orders at you, just say to yourself, I'm going to pass, regardless of what you think or what you're doing or how you're trying to distract me. As well, taking your driver's test, if you make a mistake, do not get stuck on the mistake. Take a breath, carry on, continue to do the test, because the mistake that you made on your driver's test, the examiner may not even have seen it. So keep going until the driving examiner tells you to stop and you get back to the DMV. And don't relax in the last 3 minutes of driving back to the test center. Many smart drivers over the years have come back to me and said, oh, I failed my driving test in the, pulling back into the DMV center because somebody cut me off and pulled out in front of me, okay? Do not relax in the last 2 or 3 minutes. That is the most crucial, okay? Starting and ending are the most crucial parts of your driver's test. Finish strong, okay? And most of the time when you come back to the DMV, that's when the driving examiner is going to get you to back into the parking space, because as I said, when you show up for your driver's test, make sure that you back into the parking space where the reserved parking is. That way, when you're nervous and you're trying to get yourself calmed down and relaxed and you're leaving the test center, then you can just drive out. Now, when you come back, you're going to back into the parking space, okay? If there is something behind at the back of the parking space, as often there's going to be a concrete block or a fence or something else there, stay out a little bit as opposed to striking something, because if you strike a fixed object, the concrete barrier at the back of the parking space and whatnot, that is an automatic fail on your driver's test. So know that. Klaus, in your driver's test, on some roads you can't overtake a bike rider. You will get honked at, and some drivers will pass you too, and the rider, you have to wait until the road is wide enough. Okay. Did not know that. So for the purposes of driver's test, you have to wait until the road is wide enough or the cyclist is kind enough to move over and let you pass on a driver's test. Corey's put up the video on how to back into a parking space, so have a look at that as well for passing your driver's test. So, crowding vulnerable road users on a driver's test will cause you to fail outright. If you are too close to a pedestrian, you're too close to a cyclist, then you will not be successful, because that is dangerous. There's nothing I hate worse than when I'm out walking the dog, or I'm a pedestrian or riding my bicycle, and people are super duper close to me. And I've had it happen to me over the years. As I said, I did not have a car when I was in Australia, living in Melbourne, and I rode my bicycle everywhere. And, I had cars go past me many, many times where, I could just reach out and touch the car as they were going by. That's how close they were to me. And you have to realize that the handlebars on the bicycle are already this wide. So, width of my shoulders, they're within 6 inches of my bicycle. And it's not a good feeling when you can basically go like this and you can hit the side of their vehicle. That is too close, far, far too close to be to a cyclist. And, think how you would feel if you hit a cyclist or a pedestrian. You would feel really bad about it. So, lots of space between your vehicle and vulnerable road users. So, 2 to 3 second following distance, and stopping in traffic 1 vehicle length back, mapping and tracking intersections, because 40% of crashes happen at intersections, and it's the place where you're most likely to encounter vulnerable road users. If you look at high income countries in the world, Australia, the United States, Canada, Europe, that's not a country, that's a continent, but all the countries in Europe, vulnerable road users, pedestrians, cyclists make up about 25% of traffic deaths. If you take that globally, in low income countries in the world, those countries in Africa and other places, it's 50% of vulnerable road users are 50% of traffic deaths are vulnerable road users. Create space between your vehicle and vulnerable road users. Now, there is responsibility on pedestrians and cyclists as well to be safe when they're sharing the roadway with cars, but unfortunately it doesn't happen, right? And many of these crashes, many of these vulnerable road users are killed at night. You're more likely to be involved in a crash, 4 times more likely to be involved in a crash when it's dark outside. So take extra precautions when driving at night. Klaus, can someone refilling the car on a driver's test? Can they go and get... No, that's not tested here in North America, nor anywhere else that I know of, Klaus, in terms of putting fuel in the car on a driver's test. No, make sure that you have enough fuel in the car before you go down for your driver's test. And as well, I know that there are some places in Europe where the driving instructor goes with you on the test, but here in North America, Canada, and the United States, driving examiners are in the vehicle with just the student. Okay, the driving instructor does not go in the car. And as well, you cannot have recording devices in the vehicle. I know that there are there's lots of dash cam footage out there of people taking driver's tests, and you can actually see what they're doing on the driving test and hear what the driving examiner is doing. I'm not sure how they get away with that, because for the most part, you're not allowed recording devices in the vehicle during a driver's test. Blessed, my friend, how are you? Awesome. Thank you so much for dropping by. Good to see you, my friend. Tuning in from Hawaii. And how is the weather in Hawaii? The weather here is we're not getting summer. Raining, cool, but we're supposed to have a heat wave at the end of the week, so maybe the lakes will warm up enough that we can go down and go swimming and whatnot. So we're really looking forward to that. Marion, especially in South Africa, pedestrians just walk wherever, no matter what the traffic is doing. Yes, and there is still, there needs to be education on the part of pedestrians. Unfortunately, here in North America, we have a current urban planning design of we hate cars. We hate cars. They just hate cars, and they're designing roadways so that cars are being discouraged. And when we're living in places like where I live in the interior of British Columbia, and they're designing roadways for everybody, we're going to have roadways that serve nobody. And that's exactly what's happening. They're putting in bicycle lanes and sidewalks. It's like, why do we need a sidewalk on both sides of the roadway? Why? I don't understand. They've done all this construction on one of the main roads through my suburb, and they've put sidewalks on both sides of the roadway. I mean, it was just fine before with a sidewalk on one side of the roadway. I mean, I can cross and get on the sidewalk. Why do we need sidewalks on both sides? And they've just taken up all that land and changed the characteristics of the city. And they put in these dumb bike paths that are like this, up and down and up and down, where they go across the roadway and they go across the ends of people's lanes, laneways and whatnot. And I think to myself, you're not serving anybody. You're trying to serve everybody and you're not serving anybody. Why don't we have specific routes that are designated for pedestrians, and we have specific routes that are designated for cyclists, and other specific routes for cars, and we just separate out all these people? Because of course that's never going to work either, because pedestrians are like, oh, I'm going the shortest route and this is the shortest route. I don't know. I don't have the answers, but I know what they're doing right now in terms of slowing down the speeds in residential areas, and they're designing them for pedestrians and cyclists and other types of things. It's not working. The current plan is not working, and they adopt these ideas from other countries and they don't work. Or they just throw in this infrastructure and then they expect people to figure it out after the fact. Roundabouts, for example, they're great, they're awesome, they have huge benefits, but they've just introduced them into the North American landscape and they have not educated people on how to navigate roundabouts. Epic, good evening from Easton, Pennsylvania. And when you're taking road tests in a city, stay away from green striped lanes, a bike lane. New York City, red stripes on pavement, bus lanes, do those. Those are failures on a driver's test. So yes, again, exactly what Epic said. You need to know these different nuances within different cities and what bicycle lanes are and what the traffic lights are going to be doing, because traffic lights are also geared towards accommodating cyclists at intersections, and you'll have these green painted lines and lanes where bicycles are. And somebody was talking to me the other day on comments about you can legally enter a bicycle lane 200 feet before the intersection. Well, 200 feet in many places is the entire block. It's a long way. So yes, you can move into the bicycle lanes if it is dotted lines at the intersection. But if it is a solid line, you cannot cross over that solid white line on a driver's test. You need to stay out of it, stay out of the bicycle lane when approaching the intersection. So Corey will put up the 2 videos for you on turning right with bicycle lanes. Blessed, been recovering from open heart surgery. Saw you was live and wanted to say hello. Open heart surgery. That's crazy, Blessed. I hope you're okay, my friend. Yes, sending you love, sending you much energy to convalesce and get better, because that's just crazy. Yeah, open heart surgery. Oh, yes, hoping you're feeling better soon. That is just, we're happy you're still here, very much so. But that's a big deal. That's a big deal. All the best. Yes, so gatekeepers, driving examiners, passing your driver's test, the 4 skills you need in place to be successful on passing your driver's test: space management, speed management, observation, communication. You have to have those 4 skills in place to pass your driver's test. And scroll back up through the comments. Corey's put up the 4 must-see videos that will help you out to be successful on passing your driver's test first time. Look at those, be successful, and take away the driving examiner's right to fail you. Nothing less, nothing more. Epic, what do you think of New York City lowering speed limits from 25 to 20 miles per hour? Some places 10 miles an hour due to Sammy's Law. Out-of-state drivers might not know this. Big Mac Sam should know this. You know something, Epic? I think it's ludicrous. Anything less than 25 miles an hour is absolutely ludicrous in the city. It's just going to contribute to congestion. I mean, you can ride a bicycle faster than 20 miles an hour. So I don't know. It's just a matter of time of whether it's going to work or not. But as I said, we need to separate this out. We need to figure out an alternative, because it's crazy how much they're lowering speed limits, thinking that they're going to reduce traffic deaths within the city. We need to also have some pedestrian education, because pedestrians takes a lot of responsibility in this as well. Klaus, roundabouts were crazy to people over 60 in the year 2000 here in Germany. Yes, that's completely understandable. If you haven't grown up with roundabouts, you're going to find them difficult to deal with for sure. So, passing your driver's test, leave a comment down in the comment section there. If you have any questions about passing your driver's test, hit that thumbs up button. If you want to be successful on passing your driver's test first time, check out Pass Your Driver's Test First Time Course Package. over at the Smart Drive Test website. It is on sale right now for $37.97 US. You can pick that up as well. We throw in both the winter and defensive driving smart courses as a bonus. Those will keep you safe after you get your license. So have a look at that right now, and that will definitely help you out to be successful on your driver's test first time. Rathana, I know when I took my N, I took my instructor car, I believe, for my D as well. I don't remember. Do we have to pay them to when we take their car for full license? Sorry, weird question. No, it's not a weird question. And oftentimes what they'll make you do if you go to a driving school and use their car for the test, you have to take an hour of driving lessons, and then you have to go out and do the test in the driving school car. Okay, so it's going to cost you a couple $100. But the car is the right size for the test. It's a mid-size. It's really going to help you out, and you'll be successful passing your driver's test first time. So yes, there is a cost for that as well. Excellent. Marion, thank you for the live streaming. Have a good week. I hope the weather will warm up nicely. I miss it. Yes, I think the weather is going to warm up nicely, and it's going to be really hot here at the end of the week. So we'll leave it there for tonight. If you had a driver's test in the last couple of weeks and you passed, good luck. Congratulations on that. You have a driver's test coming up in the next week or so. Good luck on that. Stay healthy, stay happy, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.